If you invested in Discovery Zone in 1993, you would have lost everything in just 3 years. June 4th, 1993. Discovery Zone first released its IPO with $22 per share. Everyone was so excited that the price surged 61% on its first day, closing at $35.50. But by 1996, it plummeted to merely 68 cents. How is this possible? For every 90s kid in the US, Discovery Zone was paradise for its ball pits, neon tunnels, screaming birthday parties, and so on. But in less than 1,000 days, the empire crashed, burned, and took millions with it. So how does a booming brand vanish almost overnight? Was it greed, bad business, or something even worse? This is the story of the downfall of the long-lost love of 90s kids. Discovery Zone. One of the biggest deals Discovery Zone ever made didn't happen in a boardroom. It happened in a gym. Back in 1989, two fitness freak men were having a casual conversation there. The topic was something they both noticed recently. Most kids were already struggling with the basic movement. Many of them were even out of shape. And that's when an idea started forming. What if there were a fun indoor space just for kids, where they could run, climb, and play freely, no matter the weather? It sounded simple, but at the time, indoor play centers weren't really a thing. But Match and Fong gave it a try and opened the first Discovery Zone in Kansas City, Missouri. It was an instant success. Kids loved it because it felt like a playground built just for them. Parents loved it because it was safe, clean, and supervised. Admission was affordable, around $5 or $6 for 2 hours of play, and adults could join their kids inside for free. And how was the setup inside? The space looked like a padded jungle gym. There were tunnels kids could crawl through, big slides to race down, and massive ball pits to dive into. Instead of gym equipment or machines, the space was filled with soft structures designed for movement, active play, and fun. Some equipment had signs with fun challenges like, "Climb this 5 times to make your legs strong." Parents liked that it was both fun and healthy. College students and other young adults worked as supervisors, keeping an eye on everything. So, in a way, it also created a job opportunity for the college-goers. Plus, there were also private rooms for birthday parties and a snack bar that served kid-friendly food like pizza, hot dogs, and ice cream. No wonder why it grew faster than the founders imagined initially. And just 3 years later, by 1992, Discovery Zone had 39 locations and had sold 138 franchises across the country. Most new centers opened in suburban malls or near family-focused shopping areas. Discovery Zone wasn't just a business anymore. It was becoming a part of childhood for many families. But how did it grow so fast in this short time? Turns out, one of the biggest reasons was franchising. Instead of building every location themselves, Discovery Zone sold the rights to franchise partners. These partners invested their own money to build new locations. Naturally, this helped the brand expand quickly without spending too much of its own cash. But that same year, Ron Match and Al Fong sold a majority stake in the company to Donald Flynn, a former finance executive from the waste management industry. The reason? Match and Fong didn't feel confident to run the company like this constantly. So they decided to make money while the company was doing well and hand it over to someone who really knows how to run a business. After the sell, Flynn took over as CEO and brought in a team of professionals to help the company grow faster. But in 1993, Flynn sold a chunk of the company, Show on Steen, 21.3% to Blockbuster for $10.3 million. And 2 more months later, Discovery Zone went public. The reason was simple: raise more money from investors to grow faster. On the other hand, people were also excited to see the IPO of their favorite company. The result? The company ended up raising about $55 million from the IPO, which assured faster growth. Plus, next year, Blockbuster also increased its ownership to nearly half of the company. But here, a tricky thing happened. Blockbuster itself was bought by Viacom pretty soon, which is now a major media brand. So it meant Viacom owned nearly half of Discovery Zone. And while DZ was busy building its growth strategy, competitors came into the market too. Because in business, no matter how unique you are, someone will definitely come and copy what you do. And that way came Chuck E. Cheese. McDonald's had also started its own chain of play centers called Leaps and Bounds, and in just 3 years, they had built 49 locations. No doubt the competition was getting tougher. So Discovery Zone made a bold decision. They straight out bought Leaps and Bounds from McDonald's. But this came with a cost. McDonald's also traded 5.5 million shares of Discovery Zone stock, which was worth over $100 million. This move helped DZ stay ahead of the competition, but temporarily. Because at the time, it seemed like a smart move. But soon, it came with consequences that Discovery Zone wasn't ready for. You know, once you're on the stock market, expectations change. Because then, investors want regular profits. And to provide that, Discovery Zone became focused on speed. For them, opening more stores meant more short-term wins, but it also meant rising costs. But soon, losses also started to add up, which reflected in its stock price. By late 1994, it dropped a shocking 75%. Means 2/3 of the money? Just gone. Still, the company didn't slow down. Investors didn't lose faith either. How come? Because this was the time when Discovery Zone bought the centers from McDonald's in that expensive deal. And 2 major things happened due to this, overnight. 1, it doubled the size of the company. 2, there was no other competitor in the market. And this gave investors hope. But the more stores opened, the more new staff and resources they had to maintain. And this management became a little problem for the company. While this was an internal issue, in early 1995, another tricky issue was added to their list. Viacom suddenly made some heavy investments in Discovery Zone. Their plan was simple. Grow the Discovery Zone, DZ'd, by linking it with big brands like Nickelodeon, Power Rangers, and Paramount, and get more profit faster. So, instead of improving existing locations, DZ kept opening new ones, often in poor locations or with high rent. Now, if you remember, DZ had originally grown through franchisees, individuals who opened and ran locations under the DZ name. But after launching the IPO, the company started opening more stores itself, and it caused a disbalance in supplies. In places like Washington, D.C., franchise locations got fewer supplies because most company-run stores took most of it. As a result, franchisees began feeling sidelined. Some wondered, what if they sourced their own food and broke the rules? Would it save their stores or break the whole system? And honestly, the franchise stores tried this as well, and the result was surprising. One interesting part of Discovery Zone's business was how franchises handled food. The company often required franchise owners to buy food supplies through corporate vendors to get better prices. Not only that, by 1999, some franchise owners started using local suppliers like Domino's Pizza or Baskin-Robbins. The reason? Only to offer better quality products to the kids than the company actually provided. Plus, maintaining the equipment was a constant job. Centers needed more staff every night to clean and fix broken nets, tunnels, and slides. Sometimes, even computer systems used for sales and management crashed. But the company's support center was often understaffed, so technical problems weren't fixed quickly. It was clear that running more than 300 stores across the country stretched the company's resources very thin. At the same time, Discovery Zone was not alone in the world of family entertainment. One of the main competitors, Chuck E. Cheese's, was shinning as well, as they also found their own USP. While Discovery Zone focused more on fitness and active play, Chuck E. Cheese emphasized food and tokens used to play games. Families often choose between the two for birthday parties and outings, because each offers a slightly different experience. Besides these big names, many smaller indoor play centers appeared too. Places like Explorations, Funtastics, and Kidzania popped up around the country. These smaller centers copied Discovery Zone's soft play model, but on a smaller scale. Malls started filling empty retail spaces with these family entertainment centers, increasing competition even more. And to worsen the matter, no matter how much Discovery Zone expanded rapidly to stay ahead, the new competitors often undercut prices or offered newer attractions, which DZ could not do. So, to summarize it, the franchise owners were frustrated, the tech was failing, and competitors were eating into market share. And then, in the middle of all this chaos, someone opened the books. And what they found would send shockwaves through the company, because the real trouble hadn't even started yet. It was 1995, and turns out, in just one quarter, the company lost nearly $98 million. Now, it was the kind of loss that made investors panic, creditors worried, and employees uncertain about the future. But how did they make such a huge loss? Basically, Discovery Zone borrowed heavily to open new locations, often signing lease agreements for spaces in malls that charged high rent. Leasing is like renting something instead of buying it. When you're done using it or when it's time for something newer, you just give it back. So, these leasing deals were made quickly, sometimes without careful planning. As each new store opened, the company had to pay for construction, equipment, and staff before the store could earn any money. In simple terms, before more money rolled in, they had to burn more cash from their pocket to build stores. So, costs were always ahead of their revenue. Plus, some stores didn't break even for months. In 1992, Discovery Zone brought in about $9 million in revenue but still lost $5.7 million. That was a clear sign that the business model needed time to become profitable. But what did the company do? Instead of slowing down to fix the basics, they pushed forward. Because in the eyes of investors, there was no time to pause. As a result, by 1995, the number of stores had exploded, but profits didn't follow. Finally, when that nearly $100 million loss hit, it broke confidence across the board. Moody's even warned that the company might break its debt agreements, something that could lead to even more financial problems. And it happened. Just 1 year later, in March 26, 1996, the company had over $366 million in debt and just $109 million in assets. What does it mean? It's like you have to pay back more than $3, while you got only $1 in your pocket. So, it was a huge gap. They had no other choice apart from filing for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. Headlines spelled it out. When growth isn't child's play. And after the bankruptcy, the company tried to reset in the next 3 years. But even by 1999, Discovery Zone still had roughly $150 million in debt and nearly $100 million in assets. And to make things worse, the stock price took a huge hit. By early 1996, it was trading for less than $1. Naturally, now investors had lost faith completely. Wall Street also began pressuring the company to close failing stores and find ways to cut costs. So, the company had to shut down their underperforming locations and even moved their headquarters to Florida because there the rent was cheaper. But the money wasn't enough. After the bankruptcy in 1996, a private equity group called Wellspring Associates invested $20 million to try and turn things around. The plan was simple. Just add new features like laser tag and mega climbing walls, and to freshen up the play areas. Honestly, it helped a little bit, but the company's problems were much larger than one round of improvements could fix. By 1999, the money was gone again, and there were no new investors willing to step in. You might still wonder, why did DZ frequently suffer from money problems? Well, the reason is this. The people leading Discovery Zone changed again and again, and this made the company's vision and strategy compromised for the long term. As we already told you, the original founders handed control to Donald Flynn in 1992. Flynn had experience as a financial executive and took the company public. He led the charge on expansion, helping the company open hundreds of new locations. But around 1995, he suddenly stepped down because the losses became too large. Basically, he just removed himself to avoid the consequences. And that's when Viacom's Blockbuster took over much of the management. Now, Blockbuster had its own way of doing business. They were more focused on retail space and branding than on what made Discovery Zone special. Some franchisees even said that Blockbuster only cared about the real estate, not about creating great experiences for kids. So this created a creative difference. For example, children over the age of 9 found the equipment boring. They wanted video games, tech, something new. But DZ never bothered to adapt. It stayed a time capsule, sealed in its own version of fun while the world moved on. Next, in 1996, when the company was already on the verge of a fall, Donna Moore became CEO. She had a strong background in retail and was brought in to help fix the mess. What she did was improving customer service, cutting costs, and renegotiating leases. But she took over just as the company entered bankruptcy, at the point of no return. This made her job almost impossible, and by the end of that year, she left too. After Moore, the company went fully into the hands of Wellspring. Their team, including CEO Greg Jones, tried to bring new life to the business by updating the look and feel of the centers. Some locations were even rebranded as Mega Zone, but they didn't have enough money or brand power to bring back the magic. So, by 1999, Discovery Zone died again and filed for the second-round bankruptcy. And this made sure the end of the company. So, basically, reckless expansion by Flynn and then the visionless handling by Blockbuster pushed the brand to its fall in the first place. Just notice one thing. DZ started as a fitness-based play center, then became a national mall-based brand, then tried to mix fun with education. All in just 5 to 7 years of span. And with each shift, it lost a little more of its focus. And when a company starts declining like this, the personnel who first feel the crumbling pressure are the laborers. In 1997, a former IT manager sued DZ, accusing them of wrongful termination. Sick days were punished, policies were strict, and the pressure to perform was relentless. Even franchise owners spoke out, saying that stores were open just to impress investors, not to serve families. With that, there were the strange attempts to stay relevant. Some DZs hosted teen dance nights. Others tried to double as daycares. In one spot, parents turned the snack bar into a makeshift social club, chatting, reading, waiting for their kids to finish bouncing through the maze. DZ added coffee and couches later, but it was too little, too late. And by the end of 1999, only the strongest locations were still standing. Meanwhile, Chuck E. Cheese's parent company swooped in, buying the brand and a handful of centers for $19 million. They hoped to convert some into Chuck E. Cheese restaurants. A few others would limp along under the DZ name. But in 2000, a judge made it official that there would be no recovery. The company had to sell off everything to pay its debts. And by December 2001, Discovery Zone had completely shut down. But even at this point, if you are thinking this was the ultimate dead end, wait for this one final twist. Fast forward to 20 years, and in February 2020, just before the world shut down, something strange happened in Cincinnati's Eastgate Mall. The neon lights of Discovery Zone flickered back on, and so did the ball pits, jungle gyms, and arcade lights. It felt like 1995 all over again. But there was no press release, no corporate announcement, just a mysterious revival with no clear origin. So, was it official? A tribute? No one knew. But what was happening was real. And for a moment, it felt like childhood was back. But just think about it for a moment. Even if it was an official revival finally, the timing of it was impeccable to become a failure again. But anyway, it wasn't. Just a year later, another Discovery Zone appeared again, this time in Florence, Kentucky. Same name, same vibe. Social media lit up with speculation. Is this a reboot? Definitely, this wasn't a national rollout. The original chain had shut down by 2001. Turns out, this was nostalgia brought to life by local hands, not by a corporation. They booked parties. They offered escapes. They delivered chaotic, joyful fun. And for a while, that was enough. That Florence location? Still open in 2025, but barely. Cincinnati one? Still running, still beloved, but alone. No franchise, no support, no expansion. Just a flicker of joy in a world now obsessed with trampoline parks, sleek play cafes, and nostalgia. But without support, how long can it last? The real question isn't whether people still want Discovery Zone. They do. The question is, what if it had handled everything differently? What if they'd slowed down, fixed what was broken, shared the profits, invested in innovation before it was too late? What if? Let's find out. Discovery Zone grew very quickly, opening play centers all over the country like a popcorn machine popping kernels one after another. In a way, it was like a garden where every seed was sown at once, hoping that each plant would sprout into a tall, healthy tree. But when you plant too many seeds without checking the soil, some may not grow at all, and you end up wasting water and fertilizer on spots where nothing blooms. So, instead of rushing to open so many centers, Discovery Zone could have taken its time to find just the right places. Neighborhoods with lots of families, where children play outside, and where parents would be happy to drive a short distance. By testing 1 or 2 centers first and watching how busy they got, the company could have made a proper SOP to expand strategically. Because in the business world, as long as you have demand, your supplies will be valued. So all you need to do is keep the demand floated. Now think about it this way. When children go to a play center, they usually pay by the hour to enjoy slides, ball pits, and climbing walls. But what if the play center offered a little extra magic, like a special birthday party package where kids could paint pictures on a cake, or a weekend camp where they learned how to make simple robots out of cardboard? That's a great additional service, isn't it? By giving families extra choices like festive party deals, art workshops, or fun camps, Discovery Zone could have earned more money from each visit. Even if fewer families came on a slow weekday, those special add-ons would help fill up the piggy bank, making the total earnings more steady and less wobbly. Plus, there could be some more subtle business tactics. For example, imagine if your favorite toy store gave you a little card every time you bought something, and after 5 visits, they gave you a free toy. You might start saving that card in your wallet and plan to go back soon to finish the set. A loyalty and membership plan works just like that. Discovery Zone could have introduced simple cards or a mobile app where families collect points every time they visit. After a few visits, they could earn free playtime or a small surprise gift. The higher the points, the nicer the reward, like moving from a plain sticker to a shiny badge. These little things would encourage children to ask their parents things like, "Can we go today? I need more points." In this way, families would keep returning, and the company would have a reliable stream of visitors that they could almost count on. If that's not enough, every town has local heroes and friendly neighbors. People or places that families already trust, like the ice cream shop on the corner or the bookstore that hosts story time. By teaming up with these neighbors, Discovery Zone could have spread its own good name like a friendly whisper. Imagine if the ice cream shop put a little flyer for Discovery Zone inside every cone wrapper, while Discovery Zone, in turn, handed out ice cream coupons to children. Or if the bookstore hosted a reading hour inside the play center, bringing in its own crowd of story-loving families. So these kinds of partnerships are like 2 friends sharing their toys so they both have more fun. By sharing each other's customers and costs, Discovery Zone could have grown its audience without spending too much money on big advertisements. Apart from that, Discovery Zone could have done an important survey by collecting small bits of information like the age of visiting children, the favorite play areas, or the days when fewer families showed up. This is like taking notes in a little notebook and using those notes to improve things next time, so you can work towards satisfying your target audience more. Plus, with this information, Discovery Zone could send friendly emails or texts to parents, reminding them of upcoming events or offering special deals for quieter days. This way, families also felt heard and cared for, and they remembered to come back. Alongside, children also love new adventures, whether it is a pirate ship one day or a space station the next. If you decorate your room differently each month, you feel excited to see what comes next. Discovery Zone could have kept their play areas fresh by changing themes regularly. One month, it might be a jungle with animal masks and a little waterfall, and the next month, a castle with knights' helmets and hidden treasures. Just like a movie that gets a brand new sequel, these changing themes spark curiosity. Even long before smartphones became common, having a simple website where parents could check available times and book a party slot would have been great. That way, Discovery Zone could have built a friendly online corner where families reserve time slots, pick packages, and find helpful parenting tips. A basic online booking system is like putting price tags and descriptions on shelves in a store, so customers know exactly what they're getting before they pay. By making it easy to plan a visit, Discovery Zone would have removed any guesswork for parents, giving them confidence that a spot was waiting just for their child. Discovery Zone could also have watched its expenses carefully, ensuring that it did not hire too many staff during quiet hours or buy more snack supplies than it needed. This way, DZ could also solve the pressure of users and understaffing issue meticulously. But how could they have tackled the cash flow problem in a better way? You know, when someone wants to grow a small business, they might borrow money from a bank, but they could also ask a friendly neighbor or a local investor to chip in. Discovery Zone could have mixed different ways of getting money, some from bank loans, some from people who believed in the idea and wanted to share the success, and even some from leasing equipment instead of buying it outright. By keeping a good mix of borrowed funds, investor support, and rented equipment, Discovery Zone would have kept its cash for urgent needs and avoided feeling trapped by too much debt. Taking all these ideas together is like building a strong treehouse. You need a solid foundation of careful growth, extra fun features for friends, loyalty bricks that hold visits together, handshakes with neighbors, notes from surveys to improve the design, fresh paint that changes themes, a little online planning pad, money-saving measures like careful lighting and smart staff shifts, renting out empty seats, mixing up where your building supplies come from, and a team of happy builders with fresh ideas. If each step had been taken thoughtfully, Discovery Zone could have had a strong, steady climb instead of a sudden fall. The company could have stayed open longer, delighting countless children with its bright colors and endless play. But even if it stayed now, do you think in the modern era, Gen Alpha kids would ever go to play in places like Discovery Zone ever? After listening to everything, where do you think they made the real mistake that made the whole thing go downhill? Share your thoughts in the comments section below. And if you liked this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. See you soon in our next video.